It's 1570. The conclusion of the last war brought neither peace nor reconciliation. The Protestants achieved a very advantageous settlement at Saint-Germain and are now triumphant. The Guise are sidelined and Catholics end up embittered towards the government. Violence and crime continue unabated as the armed peace of partisan leagues becomes the norm. The country is impoverished, hungry, and close to the boiling point. Catherine endeavours to solve these problems the only way she knows, by playing off one faction against the other. Catherine believes that Spanish intervention is the greatest danger to the kingdom. To counteract this influence of Spain and the Guise, she decides to enable the other side. To this end, she proposes two marriages. The Duke of Anjou is to marry Queen Elizabeth, and her daughter Margaret is to marry Henry Bourbon, the King of Navarre. This way, Catherine hopes to achieve a balance of power at home and an English alliance to counter Spanish pressure abroad. In the end, the first proposal fails, as Elizabeth I refuses to commit. However, the marriage of Margaret and Navarre is given the go-ahead. While Catherine is busy securing the future of her dynasty, more radical solutions to the Spanish problem are being discussed. The Protestants led by Coligny reasoned that it would be a sin not to exploit Spain's troubles in the Low Countries. War would be the logical step, and immensely profitable. Coligny assures the king that if he promises religious tolerance, the Dutch Calvinists will throw open their gates and welcome him as a liberator. Serious steps are now taken to raise an army, before Catherine finds out and vetoes the plan. This proves to be a wise move, since on October 7, 1571, Philip II's fleet crushes the Ottomans at Lepanto. Spain has been waging an on and off war in the Mediterranean for decades. This victory proves decisive, meaning Philip can concentrate his attention on the Netherlands. Consequently, Charles IX backtracks and bans any and all intervention in the Low Countries. But the tables are turned early next year. On April 1st, 1572, Dutch privateers calling themselves the Sea Beggars capture the fortified city of Brielle. This way, the Dutch rebels gain a strategically important port, allowing them to extend their offensive. Soon the Spanish are on the back foot, as more and more towns and cities fall to the Protestants. In spite of the king's express orders not to intervene, Louis of Nassau, who stayed behind in France, decides to do precisely that. At the head of a small band of volunteers, he crosses into Flanders in early summer and captures a few towns. Coligny insists that the crown must exploit this golden opportunity. To make his point clear, he starts to raise soldiers to widen the intervention. But then, in July 1572, one of these bands of volunteers runs into the Spanish army, who massacres them. The Genlis affair proves to be very embarrassing, implicating the king himself in a direct attack on Spain. The Spanish retort with stern threats of an all-out war if the trend continues. War is far from what Charles or Catherine wanted, but events quickly escalate beyond their control. Coligny doubles down and gives the king an ultimatum: war against Spain or civil war. The long-awaited wedding is held under these auspices on August the 18th, 1572. Paris is filled to the brim with persons of note from all over France. The Protestants come in large numbers, all dressed in black. Besides Navarre, Coligny and the young Prince of Condé are also here. The Guise likewise come with a large retinue. Throughout the city, open calls to violence can already be heard, but nonetheless the wedding goes on without any major issues. 4 days of lavish celebration follow. Much to the displeasure of the Queen Mother, Coligny uses this time to pressure the king to take action against Spain. On August 22nd, while walking home from a meeting in the Louvre to his nearby quarters, Coligny is struck in the arm by a musket ball. The would-be assassin manages to get away, however it is established that he fired from a house owned by the Guise. The wounded Coligny demands an explanation. Charles and Catherine visit him and solemnly vow to find the culprits. An inquiry is opened the next day, however events take a different turn. In the evening it's decided to finish what was begun. The king, Catherine and the Guise conspire to murder Coligny and the Protestant leaders. They reason that war is now inevitable. armed groups of Protestants are gathered around Paris, waiting for a signal from Coligny to invade the city. By decapitating the leadership, they will gain the advantage in the coming war. To this end, a commando headed by the Duke of Guise, and made up of his own bodyguards and Swiss mercenaries, descends on Coligny's house. Henry of Guise personally stabs the admiral. Coligny is beheaded, and his body is thrown from the window, to be desecrated and paraded around the streets. Other Protestant leaders suffer the same fate, their lifeless bodies being displayed on the gibbet. Catherine and the Guise are satisfied. But the bloodshed continues. Taking a cue from their king, bands of Catholic soldiers and civilians go on the hunt for Protestants. Men, women, and children are killed without distinction. The Huguenots are easily identified by their distinctive black clothing. Checkpoints are set up to trap the ones who are trying to flee. During the following days, 3,000 Huguenots are killed in Paris. The king issues several decrees calling for calm, but in the end the authorities impotently stand by. Very few people manage to escape. Navarre and Condé are spared, on the condition that they convert to Catholicism. The massacre in Paris is followed by several regional killings. Governors and local lords claim to execute the king's will when they order thousands of Protestants to be put to the sword. In spite of further calls to calm, massacres keep happening for months. What started as a coup against the troublesome Huguenot leadership turns into a genocide. For every Huguenot killed, 10 are forced to renounce their faith. Many flee abroad, never to return to France. Protestant communities in the north are greatly weakened. Those in the south fare somewhat better. The actual war starts in September 1572, when La Rochelle refuses to pay taxes. The king immediately starts to raise an army, but being penniless, this is easier said than done. The Swiss and even the Germans give Charles the cold shoulder. Without proper soldiers, the royalist offensive takes months to materialise. December and February are mostly spent with marshalling supplies. A smaller army goes to besiege Sancerre, while Anjou heads to La Rochelle with the main force. The port city of La Rochelle is fortified with high curtain walls and medieval towers. However, during the wars, Italian-styled angled bastions had been erected at key points. The people of La Rochelle have every reason to fight. Some of them went all the way to Brazil to seek religious freedom. Being turned out from the French colony of France-Antarctique, they came back only to be murdered by their own king. Surrender is out of the question now. Luckily for them, the slow mobilization of the royal army gave them ample time to prepare. English ships commanded by Montgomery regularly run the blockade. By the end of January, Anjou finally manages to close down the harbour. By April, a breach is made, and the royalist trenches reach the moat of La Rochelle. 8 assaults are launched against the walls, all being repulsed by dogged resistance and enfilading fire from the neighbouring bastions. The royal army suffers horrendous casualties that are compounded by bad weather and disease. In May, the Protestants manage to sneak in a ship laden with gunpowder. The Catholics in turn are reinforced by 6,000 Swiss. The siege reaches its climax in June. Anjou throws everything against the breach, however the Protestants anticipate the attack and they are prepared. An inner wall had been erected just behind the breach, providing an ideal killing field for the Huguenot musketeers. This attack is also beaten back, and Anjou becomes exasperated. He is saved from embarrassment by a most unlikely event. Poland's ruling dynasty had just died out, and when forced to choose between 2 Habsburgs and a Valois, the Polish nobility picked the Frenchman. Having been chosen to be the king of an exotic country gives Anjou the perfect pretext to lift the siege. The Peace of La Rochelle, a very unfavourable one for the Protestants, is signed in June 1573, concluding the Fourth War. But peace is only achieved on paper. Lawlessness is at its highest level since the start of the conflict. Harsh taxes and famine lead to peasant revolts all over the country. Catholic and Huguenot lords are killed alike, the peasants blaming the upper classes for the continuation of the war. Meanwhile, in towns and cities, the various leagues gain ever more ground. It only takes a few months until February 1574 for the war to resume. Huguenot insurgents seize several towns in the north, south and centre of the country. The king musters 3 small armies to deal with the guerrillas. The group in the north receives special attention, as this one is led by Montgomery. Eventually, Montgomery surrenders in the hope that he will be treated fairly. But when Catherine lays her hands on her husband's killer, Montgomery is beheaded without mercy. The other 2 expeditions make less progress. Each time they attack, the Protestants retreat to their fortified towns, leading to costly and protracted sieges. But war is only one of Charles's problems. The king is stricken with consumption, and his health deteriorates by the day. In this desperate state, he has to face a new political party, that of the Malcontents. The Malcontents are tired of the corrupt and sectarian ways of the older generation. One of their leaders is the Duke of Alençon, the king's youngest brother. Besides his liberal political views, Alençon is also motivated by dynastic ambition. Since his older brother Henry is occupied in Poland, he would like to be first in the line of succession to the French throne. As this would disproportionately favour the Protestants, Catherine makes sure that the crown goes to her favourite son, Henry. After Charles IX dies on May 30th, 1574, she immediately assumes governorship and places Alençon and Navarre under house arrest. Henry III leaves Poland in a haste and arrives to France early in 1575. Being a distant and irresponsible king, Henry proves to be even less popular than Charles had been. The south of the country is already in open rebellion, with the Huguenots setting up a state within a state. The region's governor, Henry of Montmorency-Damville, Anne de Montmorency's son, is one of the Malcontents. He rejects the new king and sides with the Protestants instead. Now Henry has no other choice but to turn to the Guise, who already act as proxies of Spain. His troubles intensify when Alençon and later Navarre escape from the court. The 2 have thousands of followers who rally to their side. Condé, who escaped earlier, is already in Germany recruiting an army. As the coalition's forces bear down on him, Henry III is only left in control of the area around Paris and the west of the country. Faced with impossible odds, the king is forced to sue for peace. The Edict of Beaulieu is signed in May 1576, concluding the Fifth War. This is the most advantageous peace so far for the Protestants. They can now pray anywhere except in Paris, and receive 8 security towns where they can maintain an armed force. An Estates Generales where Catholics and Protestants would be equally represented is also announced. But signing a peace is one thing, implementing it is an entirely different matter.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, it helps with the algorithm. Check out my Patreon if you want to help me on this journey. Links down below.